Good afternoon, everyone. It is Shiva Asr B'Tammuz. It is Sunday, June 27th, early in the afternoon, and we have mamish, for real, like an unbelievable weather pattern, an unbelievable weather situation that's taking place up in the Pacific Northwest and in Southwest Canada. In fact, it is so unbelievable. There's a meteorologist, and perhaps even more than one, Cliff Mass, who said that if it wasn't for the fact that every single computer model is forecasting the same thing, this forecast would be completely dismissed. It's just completely outrageous what's going on. You know, it's kind of like what it was forecast in Denver many months ago, according to the GFS computer model, where they were forecasting more than 50 or 60 inches of snow. The meteorologists just dismissed it because it's just not possible. It's like totally outrageous. They went ahead and went with the other computer models, which were forecasting much less. Either way, it was a major snowstorm. But sometimes you'll have a computer model which is forecasting something outrageous, and the meteorologists know, just ignore it. That for whatever reason, that particular model is forecasting something really weird. In this case, it is totally outrageous what is being forecasted. The only thing is that every single model is forecasting the same things. Even some of the European computer models, which is completely different. It's made up of completely different material, completely different sensors, completely different everything from the GFS model. It's still reaching the same conclusions as the GFS model and other models in regards to the Pacific Northwest and Southwest Canada. This is probably they say this is the strongest dome of heat that has ever occurred, and this is also occurs once every 4,776 years. That's on average. Those are the chances of something like this happening, is once in every 4,776 years. There are different opinions in regards to how much of this is connected to climate change or not. We have Cliff Mass, who feels that this heat wave would be happening regardless of man-made climate change. This is just so intense that even without the man-made climate change, he says we would still have an extreme event. He thinks that perhaps there's climate change that is contributing to a couple degrees, making it a couple degrees warmer than what it would have been otherwise. But even without the climate change, this would have happened, and it would have been an extreme event. We have other meteorologists and climatologists who claim otherwise. They say that this dome of heat, the whole thing, probably would not be happening if it wasn't for man-made climate change. But I would assume nobody really knows. I would assume that we're going to leave it off as a machlokas, as different of opinions, different approaches as to how much of this is connected to man-made climate change, if any of it is. But in any case, we do have an unbelievable thing, unbelievable dome of heat that's taking place up in the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures are expected to hit 110 degrees in Seattle, Washington today. I do want to acknowledge that based upon an article that I read, it could be implied that temperatures do reach 110 every now and then, at least for areas along the Cascades and eastward. But for temperatures to reach 110 degrees west of the Cascades, that's basically unheard of. We have temperatures that hit 108 degrees. I think it was in Portland, Oregon, or very, very close to that yesterday. Temperatures, I believe, went up to 102 in Seattle, Washington yesterday. These are all records. Temperature of 110 today, that beats the old record by 19 degrees. The previous record was 91 degrees. Who's ever heard of such a thing? Breaking a record by 19 degrees? You know, we almost came close to stuff like that back in the March heat wave of 2012. That also was something that was just so outrageous what went on, where temperatures were in the mid and upper 80s for 10 consecutive days over a very large part of the country, including Chicago. And the lake breeze did not affect us. I think there might have been one day where a lake breeze developed There was one day where it got slightly cooler with temperatures only in the 70s back then. Back then, we had record-shattering temperatures of at least 10 degrees. We had the old records were in the mid-70s, and the new records were in the mid-80s. That was definitely something that broke every meteorological rule in the book. That was back in March 2012. This might even be more intense than that. We're seeing record-shattering temperatures in Seattle, 19 degrees. It's breaking the record again by 19 degrees. However, I want to zero in on a city which is just off the charts. It's mind-boggling what's going on in this city. This city is in Canada, and I took a picture of it, and I have to get to the picture because I don't exactly remember the name of the city. The city is Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. It currently is 94 degrees there. But what I want to actually, that was a couple hours ago. It was 94 degrees there. The interesting thing about this city, where did I get it from? So the interesting thing about this city, first of all, temperatures are expected to go up to 116 degrees there. I think that's on Monday. Is that Monday or Tuesday? Do I have it here? I didn't take a picture of that. But temperatures are expected to go up to 116 degrees there. This is a city in Canada. But here's the real thing, is that it's going to be humid. Not just humid, very humid. AccuWeather is calling for dew points between 63 and even 70 degrees. I think it's by tomorrow, 4 p.m. or so. We'll have dew points in the low 70s for this city. And the city, again, the name is Abbotsford, British Columbia in Canada. That means we're going to be seeing heat indexes. Where's the humidity coming from? I don't know, because I'm not familiar with that city or the land, the exact geographical area around there. But it's expected to be humid. Now, I just want to point something out here. I don't know if this has ever happened before in the United States. If this has happened before, it would be in Yuma, Arizona. If we've ever had a city here in this country, certainly Canada, I mean, it's never happened in Canada, that's for sure. This is something which has never happened before. This is unprecedented. This is dangerous. This is unprecedented for real. This has never happened before. So the only city, if we've ever had such intense desert-like temperatures combined with Gulf Coast humidity, if that has ever happened in this country, it would have happened in the city Yuma, Arizona. That would have been the city that this would have happened in. I don't know if that has ever happened. These are the types of weather conditions that take place in countries like India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, places on the Persian Gulf. Over there, you even get higher humidity than 70. You can get a dew point of 80 degrees. But for this to be happening in Southwest Canada for a forecast high of 116 degrees and a dew point of 70 degrees, hot and humid. How is it happening? Humidity makes the sun less efficient at heating the temperatures. So just to give you an idea of probably how high the temperatures would be if that dew point would be desert-like. If it would be in the 30s or 40s, temperatures would probably be about 8 degrees, maybe even about 8 degrees warmer than that, probably 124 degrees. I have noticed that the heat index seems to me to be a good indicator of what the temperature would have been had this have been a desert heat. That's what it seems like to me. So usually, let's say in St. Louis during a major heat wave, afternoon highs are around 95 degrees with a heat index of 105. In the year 2012, where there was very little humidity, the actual air temperature was 105. So pretty much if you want to know what the actual temperature would have been had this have been a desert, a dry heat, that is what the heat index would be. Now in Canada, the Environmental Canada, which is the weather service over there, doesn't call it heat index. Apparently they call it humidex. But so the humidex is expected to go into the low to mid 120s up in southwest Canada. Only 30% that 60% of people do not have air conditioning over there. That's what I read. 60% of people do not have air conditioning. Temperatures are going to remain hot and humid throughout the night, with temperatures remaining in the 80s and humid conditions. Unbelievable. Hot and humid throughout the night. Again, temperatures dropping into the low 80s for Abbotsford, British Columbia. We're also seeing temperatures, scorching heat across the Washington, Oregon area. And I don't know about the humidity over there. I know there is an area in Idaho where they're also expecting humidity, and I don't know the exact area. The big Pella here, the big mystery is why are temperatures just as hot in the cities which will be humid as they are in the cities which will be dry, and that's something which is quite a mystery. But again, we're seeing high temperatures of 116 degrees. That's in Canada, southwest Canada, 116 degrees with Gulf Coast humidity. This dome of heat, according to the various articles that I have seen, is warming up temperatures in every single layer of the atmosphere. This is high pressure, which is going way, way, way up. And some of the numbers which are being shown are numbers that I have not seen before. I'm not even familiar with them. So I can't tell you personally exactly how rare these types of numbers are on this type of high pressure system, on the way they measure domes of heat. But I can tell you what they are saying. They are saying this is outrageous. The words are insane. And this is something which they actually would not believe. They would not believe, the meteorologists would not believe the models if it wasn't for the fact that every single model is forecasting this. So this is something which is an extreme event. And it's something, probably the type of thing you would find in a tabloid many years ago, 20 years ago, in a tabloid where they like to talk about bowling ball size hail and boiling ocean water temperatures. This would probably be the type of thing that would be discussed there, to see temperatures of 116 with like Gulf Coast humidity happening in Canada. This would be like a headline on one of those tabloids back in the 1990s. Exactly. This is exactly what would pop up on a tabloid. This is as fake. This would be like a fake news as they get. Those tabloids are completely fake news. Those are the real fake news. But, and it's actually happening for real. Right now, this is actually happening. We're seeing temperatures going into the 100. I don't know if they did go into 100 and teens yesterday. They went into the 100 and teens, but today it's getting even hotter. And in Canada, it's going to be even hotter tomorrow and possibly even hotter on Tuesday for some areas. The other big Pella here, the most amazing thing here, is to see those temperatures rise from the frigid ocean, frigid ocean temperatures in the 40s, temperatures along the coast in the 50s, and then within 3 miles, they jump well into the 90s and then into the hundreds. The article said a few miles. So a few means 3 to me, but that's just rapid rise in temperatures. And there is no sea breeze on this one, no sea breeze for today or tomorrow. Perhaps on Tuesday, there might be a sea breeze. But those temperatures are just scorching hot. It's just absolutely amazing what is going on in the Pacific Northwest and especially Southwest Canada. The center of this dome of heat is actually north of the international border. It's in Canada. On one hand, the thing doesn't really seem to be moving, but cities will be cooling off later in this week. The all-time record high for British Columbia is 112 degrees. That was recorded on July 16th and July 17th in 1941 in Leeton and Lillooet. In those cities, while the record for all of Canada is 113 degrees, set on July 5th, 1937, in Middale and Yellowgrass, Canada. AccuWeather meteorologists, I'm reading this, predict Kamloops, British Columbia will reach 112 degrees on Monday and 115 degrees on Tuesday, which would set a new all-time record high. Travel may also be impacted. The Seattle Department of Transportation has advised motorists to anticipate delays on the roadways as they give several steel drawbridges in the city cold showers to avoid expansion of iron beams and any potential malfunctions. The air travel is also expected to be affected by this. Now, the record heat, here we go. Monday's forecast high for Kamloops, British Columbia, again, is 112. The previous record, 102 degrees. So it's expected to break the record by 10 degrees in Kamloops, British Columbia. Portland, Oregon, forecast high for Monday, 114 degrees. The previous record high was 100 degrees. We're breaking the record by 14 degrees. Usually when you break a record, it's by 1 or 2 degrees. Many times you just tie the record, but this is really unheard of. And again, the closest thing that I've ever seen to this was the 2012 March heat wave. Seattle, Washington. Seattle, Washington, forecast high for Monday, 110 degrees. That's for Monday. I think I may have said earlier in this podcast that it's today. But Seattle, Washington on Monday, forecast high 110 degrees. Record high 91 degrees. So record being broken by 19 degrees. Spokane, Washington, record high at 105 degrees. Forecast high also 105 degrees, so they're expected to tie the record. Edmonton, Alberta, 94. My throat is very dry. It's a fast day, so excuse me. Edmonton, Alberta, for Monday's forecast high 94 degrees, previous record high 88 degrees. Calgary, Alberta, 94 degrees, previous record high 91 degrees. And Vancouver, British Columbia, 90 degrees, forecast high for previous record high 82 degrees. Now for Tuesday, Kamloops, British Columbia, forecast high 115, the previous record 102 degrees, breaking the record by 13 degrees. Portland, Oregon, Tuesday forecast high 95, previous record 97. So Portland, Oregon only expected to break the record Monday, but not on Tuesday. And Seattle, Washington, Monday's high 110, Tuesday's high 88 degrees. Spokane, Washington, 105 on Monday, 110 degrees on Tuesday, and the previous record is 98 degrees on Tuesday. So on Monday, they're tying the record, but on Tuesday, record is expected to be broken by 12 degrees in Spokane, Washington. Edmonton, Alberta will be breaking the record on Tuesday. Forecast high 97 degrees, previous record 89 degrees. Calgary, Alberta for Tuesday, high temperature 96, previous record 94 degrees. And Vancouver, British Columbia, record high on Tuesday 83, forecast high 79. They will be breaking the record on Monday, but not on Tuesday. Average highs in June could be anywhere from the 70s in eastern Washington and Oregon to the 80s in western areas and into Idaho. This is coming from AccuWeather. The all-time state record high for Washington is 118 degrees, most recently set at Burbank on August 5th, 1961. Temperatures in Sunnyside, Washington, which is about 180 miles southeast of Seattle, may soar close to this mark by Tuesday. Just reading straight from AccuWeather, from the Washington, from the Cliff Mass blog spot. It says, from the 60s to over 100 degrees in a matter of a few miles from the coast. In central Puget Sound, temperatures will rise into the 80s near the water to the upper 90s a few miles inland. On June 24th, Cliff Mass said the following. He said there are two possibilities in regards to next week. Number one, the Northwest will soon experience one of the most incredible weather situations in many decades. Or number two, there is a major flaw in virtually all of our weather prediction systems. He writes, quite frankly, I am somewhat in shock looking at the raw forecast model predictions or the statistically calibrated versions of their output. The event being predicted is so extreme and so beyond expectation that my natural inclination is to dismiss it. That's what he writes over here. This brings this podcast to an end. Everyone, please stay safe and enjoy your day.